Right, so hello, welcome back to the channel, and January, it signals the halfway stage of the Premier League, and in this time a lot of things can happen from the beginning of the season, and a lot of teams can revamp themselves. So today I'm going to look at every Premier League side and tell you guys exactly who that Premier League club basically needs to revamp their squad and get them in a bit of a better situation. But very quickly, before we get into that, if you want to help the channel get into a bit of a better situation, if you could subscribe and share the video around, it helps out immensely. The support on the channel recently has been brilliant, and we're trying to grow to 350 subs as soon as possible. But let's get back into it. Arsenal, Victor Osimhen. Arsenal's problem is so glaringly obvious. They don't have a goal scorer, and I mean, if you want to try and establish yourself as one of the big boys and keep your Champions League place, push for trophies, push for the Premier League, and even try and get to the Champions League final, go get Victor Osimhen off Napoli. I mean, there's always one or two rumblings with Osimhen. I mean, Napoli don't make it easy on him, and he's a proven goal scorer. Go fork out 80, 100 million like you did with Declan Rice and say, hey, we're the big boys here. We're not messing around. We need a goal scorer to win the Premier League. This is going to be our guy. Aston Villa, Amadou Onana. Aston Villa have been superb this season, and they've got a brilliant squad where they've not really had too many injuries. I know Mings has been injured and they've had one or two others, but they've been a squad that's been actually okay in the injury front. What they really need is cover for Douglas Luiz, who, of course, he's got tons of transfer speculation around him because he's such a good player, but there's no one who can really do that role. So I'd be looking at someone like Onana, who can, come in, sit in front of the defence if need be, but if you want to actually start him as well in place of someone like Kamara, then he can go be that box-to-box midfielder that Aston Villa could always do with another player for. But I mean, they've got a brilliant squad so far, Aston Villa. Bournemouth, Giovanni Lo Celso. Now, this would only be a loan move because I don't think Bournemouth can actually really afford him, but although they do have a fair bit of money. But Giovanni Lo Celso would be a great fit at Bournemouth. He's clearly someone who's not properly wanted at Tottenham. He only gets used because of all the injuries and players being away on international duty that they currently have. So why not bring him down to Bournemouth? He can play in a deep-lying midfield position. He can play in an attacking position out on the wing as a striker as cover for Solanke. He can do it all, so why not on loan? Brentford, Johan Bakayoko. Johan Bakayoko in the summer was linked with a lot of top clubs, including Arsenal, but the hype seems to have died down for him. But I don't get why, because he's still a brilliant player. Brentford could really use someone like him, a guy who could play in this striker position or out wide. A bit like Wissa, who has been out injured for them as well. So I see it being a really good fit. Go in with a bit of a £20 million bid and chance your luck. Brighton, Calvin Phillips. Pretty simple this. Calvin Phillips needs to move on from Man City. I don't think that Brighton will actually go out and buy him, but he also wants to get into the squad for the Euros. Brighton need a bit more depth within that midfield area, especially playing European football, so why not go and loan Calvin Phillips, get use out of him, add more squad depth whilst keeping the squad strong. And who loses out here? Burnley, Che Adams. If you're going to try and stay up, you need a goal scorer, and it's as plain as simple as that. And Burnley, they didn't have one since they sold Chris Wood, and it obviously relegated them. Championship, bit of a different story there, but Premier League, you need someone who's going to get you 10 to 15 goals a season. That person can be Che Adams, who's in the Championship, got 7 goals for Southampton in the Championship. And he'd be a good fit at Burnley, who need goals, so yeah, why not get it done? Chelsea, Aaron Ramsdale. For all the money Chelsea have spent, they've still not properly replaced Thibaut Courtois. They've just not. They kind of had it with Mendy, but then they sold him, and they've not got a proper number one. Robert Sanchez is in that number one, and you can't have him as your proper number one the entire season. Get a proper goalkeeper, go test and see if you can get Aaron Ramsdale away, lure him in with obviously big money, but more importantly, first team football and a chance to be the number one, which could get him in the England squad. Go do it. Crystal Palace, Kyle Walker-Peters. And speaking of not properly replacing players, Crystal Palace have never properly replaced Aaron Wan-Bissaka And I know they maybe thought they could get him back, but Man United's squad is stretched so thin, not a chance. Look at Kyle Walker-Peters in the Championship. He's a great, steady right back who can play left back cover there. It's not the most exciting player in the world, but it's a player that Palace badly need. Everton, financial fair play to back off. I'm not even going to say that Everton need a player here because they just need financial fair play just to get off their back. I mean, they look like they're about to get another points deduction alongside Nottingham Forest, whereas obviously City, Chelsea, they're not getting any. It's a joke. I don't really want to get into it. I can get into it in another video, but oh man, it's ridiculous. They don't need a player, they just need no more point deductions. Fulham, Tammy Abraham. Fulham have got a really solid squad overall, which I think took a lot of people, including myself, by surprise last season. And then this year, when maybe people thought there was going to be a bit of a fall off, they've still got that same strong squad. What they've really been lacking is that clinical number 9 since Mitrovic was there. And I feel like Tammy Abraham is a perfect player for the system there. He's not having the best of time over at Roma. Jose Mourinho's now gone, the guy who brought him in there. So why not come back, go to England and try and force yourself into the Euro squad for Germany in 2024. Liverpool's João Palhinha. But sadly, Fulham fans, I mean, I've just said that Palhinha should go to Liverpool because Liverpool desperately needs that holding midfielder. I know they've got Endo and they've been playing really well. I've actually tipped them to go and win the league, but at the exact same time, it's what they're crying out for. They are desperate for a midfielder, and I think he's the perfect fit for Liverpool. Luton, Ryan Kent. Luton have surprised me this year. I think they've been a really fun team to watch. I also think they're very reminiscent of the Blackpool side that came up in about the 10-11 season or so. And I think that Ryan Kent would be a perfect fit for this team. Now, I know there's reports of him going to join Jordan Henderson and Steven Gerrard over in Saudi Arabia. That deal might be getting close there, but if I'm Luton, I'm going to try and hijack that because they need a creative player to go take the ball, run at defenders. That's what Ryan Kent does. I nearly said Ryan Jack there, but Ryan Kent, that's what he does. He runs at defender, he creates problems, and it's the creativity that Luton are really needing. Manchester City, Alex Grimaldo. Again, this is just being greedy, but he's a guy who can play multiple positions, left back, left wing. You could probably even convert him into the middle of the park, which Pep Guardiola loves to do. Man City don't need anyone. They don't, they're just waiting for their injuries to return. But, I mean, if they got Grimaldo, it solves their left-hand side defensive issues that they've kind of been having this year, and it just makes them a stronger outfit. If you want to play him on the left wing, he will track back and make you, again, more solid defensively, which is kind of where they've been lacking this year. Manchester United, Ruben Neves. A painfully obvious one. They are crying out for a centre midfielder as well. I know you're going to say, well, when Casemiro's there, Kobe Mainoo's going to go into that sort of midfield area, and then you've got Bruno, and then you need to get rid of the likes of Eriksen. Scott McTominay is a great player that just, for some reason, Man United don't know how to use, so if you're not going to use him, get rid of him. And Ruben Neves is that guy who can create a pass from deep, which is someone that they don't properly have yet. I think he sorts your midfield areas out in there, and again, he's in the Saudi League. Go put in a decent bid for him. He'll then say, I don't want to be there anymore, and you can flush him out from there. Newcastle, less injuries. A similar one to Everton here, but Newcastle, they've just got a plethora of injuries. I know, again, Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool, everyone's got their injuries. Newcastle, they just seem to have got more and more, and they're always the key players. Like if Harvey Barnes hasn't barely featured, Joe Willock, Nick Pope, like I could go on and on. They need their squad back. Joelinton's seemingly out for the season. They just need less injuries. They don't really need more players, but they just need those players to come back. Nottingham Forest, Nemanja Matic. Nottingham Forest are going to get hit by a points deduction, and their midfield is where it really needs shoring up. I mean, Sangare needs a partner in there, a proper partner, and why not go for some Premier League experience in Nemanja Matic? Now, I know you're going to say, oh, he's old, he's slow, he's a good calming influence to have in that midfield area. I'm not saying that you play him every single game, but he's had a falling out with Rennes as well, who clearly are lying to him. He's said that he's not going to play for him, so go try and get him for cheap, get that experience in, and try and stay up with him. Sheffield United, Trevor Chalobah. Okay, now, I'll admit, this is a really, really ballsy move to try and go get Trevor Chalobah from Chelsea, but he's an unwanted man. I know that Napoli are linked with him, but if you can somehow sneak a player like that, go try and get him. You need to shore up that defence. You've conceded the most amount of goals in the Premier League, and overall it's not been good enough there. You need someone back there, and Trevor Chalobah, he'd be the best player you could possibly get, and if you could somehow beat Napoli to him, it's ambitious, but you got to go for it. Tottenham, Douglas Luiz. You cannot keep playing Oliver Skipp in midfield. He's a fine role player, but he should not be a starter for Tottenham. And I know he starts because of all the injuries and so forth. Bissouma keeps getting sent off, but put in Douglas Luiz in there with Bissouma and Bentancur. That is one of the best midfields in the entire league. I mean, Douglas Luiz sits in front of them, dictates the play, wins the ball, and the other two go forward with the ball. I mean, that midfield would just be immense. West Ham, Cameron Carter-Vickers. West Ham are quite solid all over, so I feel like bringing in a player like Cameron Carter-Vickers, a guy with Champions League experience, okay, not the best because it's with Celtic, of course, who have not been performing brilliantly in that competition, but a proven winner, gets into that mentality. I know West Ham just won, so they want to bring in players who have that winning mentality, who can shore up a defence, and I feel like Cameron Carter-Vickers is a perfect centre-back. He can play in a back three, back four. He's brilliant, and he heads absolutely anything. Wolves, Jota. This one just seems like a no-brainer to me. I mean, Jota, he's a Portuguese winger. Wolves love a Portuguese winger, and he's unhappy over in the Saudi League, unwanted over there, so go get him. You have done with everyone else. So that's what I think every club needs in January. A little bit of a boost to the squad, no injuries, no financial fair play, and just the players overall. But let me know if you guys agree in the comments below, but if not, who needs what? Please let me know, I'd love to read it, and if you've gotten this far, please like, share and subscribe. It does the channel wonders. Thanks so much for watching. Yeah, cheers.